Hey guys, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel. If you guys have never been to my channel before, I am a full-time reseller. I've been full-time for over 4 years now. I buy things at thrift stores and I sell them on sites like Poshmark. So I've been doing this for over 4 years. Every year I have brought in over $100,000 in sales consistently. So yeah, we're at about $500,000 in sales selling used clothing online, which is crazy. But with that comes taxes. Yeah. So the thing that we're all terrified of, taxes. It is the number one question I get from you guys. How do I do my taxes? What am I supposed to do? How do I set my business up? And I can't answer those legally. I am not a CPA. I do not have the answers for you. I actually hire that out. However, I do have a CPA that I recommend to people and that I've worked with in the past. His name is Mark. He is the founder of Not Your Dad's CPA, and he's fantastic. I worked with him my first year that I was a full-time reseller. He did my taxes for me. He saved me a lot of money. If I would have done it myself without his help, without kind of knowing what I was doing that first year, it would have been a lot harder. So I was very thankful when I found Mark. There was not a lot of people out there who were doing reseller taxes or who even understood that you could make money selling things online. It really wasn't a big thing. So finding someone who understood what I was doing and how I was doing it and that it actually was profitable and that I needed to pay some taxes was key. So we found Mark. He was amazing. And since then, his business has grown. He has become the go-to reseller tax professional. He helps, he's probably helped thousands of us at this point in his career. Don't quote me on that, but I have sent thousands of people his way for sure. So Mark has 10 tips for us today as we are in the heart of tax season. We should all be preparing for tax season. It is coming. It is the middle of January right now. So we're all kind of getting ready. And Mark has very kindly given us 10 tips for resellers doing their taxes. Along with that, Mark has also created a tax academy. So it's an online tax academy, the Reseller Tax Academy. I love that. And it's just about knowing your laws, streamlining your processes, growing your business, and how to correctly do your books and your taxes. So Mark has this program. He has just released it. It just went on sale today. It's January 14th. And you can find the link below if you're interested in that. Please make sure you use my link when you're going to check it out. It really helps me figure out if these videos are good for you. And it is also an affiliate link, so I get a small kickback from you using that link. Transparency. There we go. I wish I had a sound effect right now. So anyway, use the link down below. Go check out his academy. See if it's a good fit for you. There is 9 modules in his academy. I'm going to read through them. Module 1 is Introduction to Your Taxes. He shows you why taxes are so important and kind of talks about them in that. Module 2 is the tax basics for online sellers. It says, in this module, we'll start from the top tax floor and work our way down until you know exactly what taxes you're subject to and what that means for your business. Very important. I've gone through all of these modules, and even after 4 years, I learned some things. Module 3, getting started assessing your current state. In that module, they answer questions that are the most critical and common questions regarding hobby versus business selling. The structure, like, are you an LLC? Are you a corporation? And then your accounting basics. This is a really good module, and I think it's really where people get stuck and paralyzed in their business. And so knowing these things is key. And I'm so grateful that Mark breaks it down. And he's a certified CPA, so he legally can break these things down for you. Module 4 is going to show you what the optimal structure is for your business. So he's actually going to walk you through the different entities, talk about which one works best for what type of business. and show you from there. Module 5 is going to be inventory. Inventory is such an important part of our business. And I get a lot of questions about like, how do I do my bookkeeping for inventory? What should I be doing? Mark breaks it all down in a legal way. So, he's not just talking about like how to keep track of it on a day-to-day basis to like make your inventory selections easier. He's talking about what you actually need to do from an accounting and tax standpoint legally, which is so important, you guys. Number 6 is deductions. Yes, saving money. That's the good one. That's the module where you're going to find out all the deductions that you literally cannot afford to miss taking. When I had Mark help me with my taxes, he told me about so many deductions that I had no clue that I could do, and how the proper way to deduct them are. So he's going to do that for you guys in this module. Honestly, this module should save you the cost that this academy is. And don't forget, the academy is also a deduction. So module 7 is cleaning up a tax mess. So you need to address the IRS. People literally have nightmares about this stuff. He's going to show you how to clean up a tax mess and how it can be pretty painless. This was the best thing about Mark. When Joe, my husband, and I first talked to him for the first time, we were so paranoid and scared. And he was like, okay, first off, calm down. If you get audited, not the end of the world. Pretty basic stuff. You're going to be okay. This module is going to talk you through all of that. Module 8 is knowing your numbers. My favorite thing. If you've watched my channel for a while, you know that I'm obsessed with numbers. Very important. You need to know this stuff. And so this module is going to kind of show you what is important to get your books in order and just the basics of keeping things straight. This module is so important, not just for taxes, but like overall a view of your business. You need to be doing this stuff. And then module 9 is just putting it all together, the final ribbon on the pretty package that you've created together. So this is available now for the first 3 days. So if you're watching this when I first released it, the 14th, 15th, and 16th, it will be available for a deeply, deeply discounted price. From there, the price does go up. But again, use my link down below. Go check it out. The first 3 days are really the days where you want to go and grab this because it's a great price and it won't stay that price forever. But anyway, the reason you guys are all here, the 10 tips from Mark that he has provided for us very kindly. Thank you so much, Mark, for putting together this video with me. Ta-da! There we go. Here's my sound effects. Here's Mark's tips. Go watch them. Go implement them in your business. Go purchase the Reseller Tax Academy. It's a deduction. And let me know what you guys think.
Okay, tip number 1 is have the right business setup. You don't generally need an LLC on day 1. A lot of new resellers think that they have to have an LLC or even an S Corp in place before they start selling. But not only is that most often not necessary, but it can even be a bad idea. You're a sole proprietor just by default, so just start selling, and then as you grow, you can adjust. Now, in a lot of cases, there isn't anything wrong with having all these things in place on day 1, but sometimes resellers get themselves into trouble by doing too much too soon. Tip number 2, use a separate bank account. This will simplify your life immensely. Having your payouts and your expenses all flow through a separate account is the first step of keeping your business finances organized. It lays the foundation for valuable insights into your profitability. It can be a separate personal account if you're a sole proprietor, and for liability reasons, it should be a separate business account if you have an LLC or an S Corp. Tip number 3, get a bookkeeping system. It doesn't have to be fancy, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution. It could be as simple as a spreadsheet, or it could be software that connects to your bank. There's a lot of good programs out there. QuickBooks, Xero, Wave Accounting, GoDaddy Bookkeeping. You just need to find something that works for you and something that's going to give you that monthly visibility into your profitability for good decision making. And the bonus is that you'll be ready for taxes when the time comes, and you won't be scrambling to try and throw everything together. Tip number 4, take the home office deduction. Most resellers work from home or at least start out working from home. Make sure you have a space that you use exclusively and regularly for the business so that you can deduct the associated costs through the home office deduction. It's not a red flag. 30 years ago, it was less common, but today having a home office is almost the norm. And there's been a lot of clarifying legislation. So don't let fear keep you from taking a legitimate deduction. And the cool thing for resellers is that any home inventory storage space you have will also count toward the home office deduction. Tip number 5, keep track of your inventory. Generally, you're supposed to deduct your inventory when it sells, so you need a system of keeping track of those inventory costs, such as a spreadsheet. I've found that it's generally too tedious to keep track of inventory individually in a bookkeeping program, so what a lot of resellers will do is keep the inventory detail in a spreadsheet and then adjust the inventory and cost of goods sold numbers in total in the bookkeeping program on a monthly basis. Tip number 6, you don't need to save receipts, but you do need some type of documentation to support each transaction greater than $75. Generally, the IRS wants you to have both a record and documentary evidence. A record is something you create, like a logbook or the transactions within a bookkeeping system, but documentary evidence is external documentation that supports that record. So this could be a receipt, but it doesn't have to be. It could also be a bank statement, an invoice, a canceled check, or just some piece of documentation that substantiates that record. And if you do use a receipt, you don't have to keep the physical copy. You can scan it and just keep a digital copy. Tip number 7, your first dollar of reselling profit is taxable. By law, payment processors like PayPal and Amazon have to send you a 1099 if you have sales that exceed $20,000 and if you have over 200 transactions. If you sell less than that and don't receive a 1099, that doesn't mean that you don't owe tax. It just means that the IRS might not necessarily know about it. You're technically responsible to report your first dollar of profit. Tip number 8, set aside money for taxes. When you're self-employed, there's no employer who's withholding your taxes and sending them to the government on your behalf. And now that you're your own employer, even if you're part-time, you have to pay the employee and the employer portion of Social Security and Medicare taxes, which is the 15.3% self-employment tax on your profit. And in addition, you'll owe the regular income tax. A good high-level estimate of what you'll owe usually falls between 20 and 30% of your profit. Tip number 9, don't forget about quarterly estimated payments. Depending on the amount of tax you owe, you might be required to submit quarterly estimated tax payments. Doing so will help you avoid late penalties and interest. The simple rule is that if you're going to owe over $1,000 in tax at the end of the year, you should make estimated payments. An exception to this is if you've already paid or had withheld 100% of the prior year's tax liability or 90% of the current year's tax liability. I wouldn't get too worked up about the exact numbers. That's why they're called estimated payments. And if you end up paying too much, you'll just get it back in the form of a refund when you file your taxes at the end of the year. Tip number 10, be aware of how sales tax works in your state. Most states now have marketplace facilitator laws in effect, which make the platforms responsible for collecting and remitting sales tax, but there are still a handful of states without these laws. If you live in a state without marketplace facilitator laws, you generally only have to collect sales tax on sales to customers who live in your same state, or in another state that doesn't have marketplace facilitator laws where you also have a physical presence. And if you do live in a state with marketplace facilitator laws, and if you have a reseller certificate to avoid paying sales tax on inventory purchases, that means that you're registered to collect sales tax in that state, so the state will generally expect you to file a sales tax return. But since the platforms are collecting and remitting the tax for you, the sales tax returns you submit will show zero tax due. So it's just sort of something you have to do to check the box.